purpose of Leela has been to shake you off your standards of thinking and judging everything as something spiritual, something not spiritual, something okay, something not okay. But the problem with the mediocre mind is always this, whatever is said, you'll always try to match it to what you agree with and say, oh, this is good, now I can appreciate Krishna because he is the way I think he should be. Or now I appreciate what Sadhguru is saying, now he's saying what I think is right. He's just saying what I think is right. See, this is where human mind is a curse. Human mind can be a tremendous gift, an extraordinary boon to humanity. But the problem right now is, we are always looking for the familiar. What agrees with you is right, what doesn't agree with you is not right. Once you're with life itself it is true, with every aspect of life, but especially once you have chosen to walk the spiritual path in some capacity, then this attitude is totally self-defeating. Only what agrees with you say is right. If Krishna says something that doesn't agree with your sensibilities, you dismiss him. If he says something that agrees with your sensibilities, you accept him. This is a sure way. You have ensured your non-growth. You have ensured your stagnation by doing such a thing. Now, whether it's Krishna or your guru must say something that you can't figure out, isn't it? Yes? You can't figure it out for nuts. You must experiment and grow into it. He's constantly saying something that you agree with. It doesn't mean anything. One day, Shankaran Pillai was very drunk and he was just… late night, he was just walking home. Then he found his neighbor had opened his car bonnet and he had his half body inside the bonnet working at something. So Shankaran Pillai came and with a slur he said, "What's wrong?" The man who was working, simply still keeping his head inside the engine, he said, "Piston broke." Piston broke. So Shankaran Pillai said, "Oh, piston drunk, just like me, just like me." So, you've been doing that to Gita and Krishna? Oh, piston drunk, just like me, just like me. You don't try to agree with it. You allow it to disturb you. That's when growth will happen. You allow Krishna to disturb you because no matter what kind of sensibilities you have, he doesn't fit into your mind. I want you to understand. He doesn't fit into your mind anywhere. The only way to fit Krishna into you is you must fall in love with him, then he fits you. When you're in love with somebody, you're unreasonable, isn't it? Francis Bacon said, you can't be in love and be wise. You're trying to be wise, you'll miss the whole point. So Krishna cannot fit into anybody's mind. He is not made for that. He's not a moralistic toad to fit into your mind. He will not fit into your mind, it doesn't matter who you are. He'll fit into you only if you absolutely fall in love with him, then he fits in. But then anybody fits in, you know. If you fall in love with Veerappan, Veerappan fits into you very well, isn't it so? Yes or no? So that's the only way. Otherwise he doesn't fit into you. Taking him in parts, entertainment. He can't take you somewhere. That is so with Krishna, that is so with anybody who is offering a dimension which is beyond your present level of experience. Always so. So yes, first 3 days I was falling in love with Krishna, but now, as you say, more and more things about him, I'm having my second thoughts. That's the whole problem. Once Shankaran Pillai fell off the terrace of his house. Fortunately, he did not die, nor did he have any broken bones, but he was feeling like an overripe fruit. Everything was hurting. So somebody came and asked, did the fall hurt? He said, no, it's not the fall, it's the stopping that hurt. You get the point? The stopping that hurts, not the fall. There are many question people.
Sadhguru, as you were speaking
Little
about…
close this.
As you were speaking about Krishna this past few days, it's like when you say, when there's a devotee, there's God, or only when there's a devotee, there is God. What I came to understand is the God is also in difficulty, and the devotee is also in difficulty. So, what is it, what is grace? Where does grace play its role? So I want to exactly know. So either in Shiva's life or Krishna's life, they are God themselves, the people see them as God themselves. But still they had to go through any number of incidents that could kill people. And same with you, and same with many of your disciples. Once they come into the spiritual circle, it looks like things get more and more difficult. I just want to know what this whole thing is about.
It's a popular question. For a similar question, you already know the answer that Krishna gave. Balarama asked this question, I told you a few days ago. When Krishna and Balarama had to leave Mathura and run away, when they're going through all kinds of hardship, trying to escape, walking through forests without proper food or rest, Balarama asked, why these things keep happening to us and nobody else? It looks like we face so many hardships that other people don't have to face. Why is it like this? And with you around, why? It's a similar question. So, Krishna's answer, I will not go into the exact words, but he is speaking in the context of, don't you complain because life is happening to you in great measure. It is because somewhere you have identified certain situations as good life and certain situations as bad life, or certain situations as the kind of situations that you want and certain situations as you don't want. Now, you're thinking in terms of why all these things are happening to you. But if you just saw life as life, life is happening to you. The moment you stepped into the spiritual stream, life is happening to you in great measure, as if everything is on fast forward. Life is happening. It is you who is identifying, this is a good thing, this is a bad thing. If you do not do that identification, you will see life is happening in great intensity, that's all. Good things are happening, bad things are happening. No good things are happening on the planet, no bad things are happening on the planet. Life is happening. Some people are enjoying it, some people are suffering it. So the whole work is only on that level, to see that everybody enjoys it. What things, the events that are happening in the planet are of no consequence, because they do not decide the human experience. Even if death happens, right now even if death happens, you would call it a tragedy. Right now, let's say Leela is happening, a thunderbolt hit, spun the hall, and let's say all of us got burnt up or electrified, whichever way you want to look at it. I don't think it's a tragedy. It's just a happening. No, but what about Isha Foundation? What about my family? What about my children? What about my everything? Yes, for all of them also life will happen in great measure because suddenly we evaporated. See, I want you to look at this beyond your identification of what's good and what's bad. If you just look at the scene, life is happening in great intensity. When you say, I want to turn spiritual, naturally you're seeking for a larger measure of life, not for less. You want a larger slice of life, that's the reason why you're going for it, isn't it? In fact, everything that you're going for in your life is just an effort to have a larger slice of life. When a larger portion if you are eating just a thin wafer of life, maybe it was all sweetness, but you were just eating a thin wafer. You took a cake, you just ate the icing. If you live on icing, then after some time, you will see that sweetness will become poison. You just have to wait and see how sweetness will turn poison. So before I came to the spiritual process, my life was at least the wording was right. My life was what many people will envy, but you know how empty it is. People who don't have a car think people who are going in a car are in a great fortune. Yes, definitely it's a comfort and a convenience, there's no question about that. But they are not in any great fortune. In terms of their life experience, they are not in any great ecstasy driving this. If there were no cars at all, nobody would be hankering for it. Now, the man who doesn't have it, his problem is, oh, she has it, I don't have it. That's his problem. Suppose he refuses to compare himself with you. Walking or cycling, he's perfectly fine, isn't it? Isn't it so? So, whatever you said in terms of, my life was everybody's envy, is not a statement about life. It's a statement about the social situation, a very foolish social situation that we have gotten into. It has nothing to do with life. I'm talking about life as life is, life as creation is. In your mental conditions, many other things have become life. If you have a mental condition, any kind of mental condition, which has nothing to do with life, that's called madness, isn't it so? Isn't it so? If you have a certain mental condition which has nothing to do with reality, would you call that madness or no? Definitely not sanity, isn't it? And please see, all this suffering is coming from that insanity. Now, when you walk into the spiritual path, especially if you are full-time here in the ashram, people who are initiated into certain processes, for them, we protect them from the outside because the inner situation is going absolutely fast forward. There are various reasons to this. One fundamental reason is, there is something called as prarabdha. How many of you have gone through the mystics' musings? The only bondage and… okay. There is something called as prarabdha. You know there's something called as karma. Karma is a general term. Prarabdha is a more specific term. The allotted karma for this lifetime, the creation is very compassionate. If it gives you the whole lot of karma that you have, which is called as sanchita, usually in South India, at least in Telugu-speaking parts, they say, Sanchalo unna karma. The whole bag, if they give you, you will be dead. If you… see, right now, many of you are tortured by simple memories that you carry in this lifetime. You're not able to shake them off. Suppose right now I remind you 100 lifetimes in great intensity, memory-wise, most of you will fall dead right here, unable to bear the burden of that memory. It is so. You will just lose your life instantly, simply not being able to bear the burden of that memory. Just imagine 30–40 years you have lived, whatever nonsense you did with your life, you are not able to handle that memory, isn't it? Struggle. Suppose full lifetime, let's say 60–70 years that you have lived, 100 times over, if we give you that memory, would you survive that? You wouldn't. So nature is allotting prarabdha, that means an allotted memory that you could handle. So if you go by this measure of nature's allotment, assuming that you will not create any new karma, which is not true, assuming that you will not create any new karma, to dissolve, let us say 100 lifetime karma, you may take another 100 years minimum. Yes? Not necessarily so, I'm just saying for example. So once you enter the spiritual path, you are saying, when you say, I am turning spiritual, you are making a statement, I am in a hurry to get to my ultimate destination. You don't want to take 100 lifetimes, and in the process of these 100 lifetimes, you may gather enough karma to last out for another 1,000 lifetimes. Even if you assume you are not going to pick up anything, still 100 lifetimes is not what you want to take, so you want to hurry it up. So once a spiritual process begins, if initiations are done in a certain way, it is opening up dimensions which would not have opened up otherwise. You would have lived a more peaceful life if you were not spiritual, but a more lifeless life too, closer to death than life, without anything major happening within you, without anything fundamental being shaken within you, maybe just you passed comfortably. So if you want to pass your life in coma, that's a choice one can make. I would say a lot of people are passing their life in coma. They are in comatose. Just every day get up at the same time, sip their coffee, eat pongal, drink another coffee, sleep, go to work, come back. They won't do one thing extra because they know somewhere, if I try something else, my fundamental comfort in my life will go away. There are many people who want the chutney to taste the same way every day morning, otherwise little difference means the whole life will get upset, they know that very well. Do you see this happening? Especially as people get older, do you see they want those things exactly that way? Little change means they will get all fall apart. They say, this is my choice, this is my nature and all that nonsense. All that they're doing is, they know the smallest thing will upset their apple cart. So you're trying to pass off your life in comatose. Is that your intention? Once you step into the spiritual process, you have made a statement, I'm willing to experience life in great measure. Let it come to me, all of it. And once you come and sit with me, my blessing is also that. Let everything that is life happen to you. Let it happen to you. What if death happens? Oh, that's wonderful too. Because instead of taking 75 years to get there, if you can get in 35 years, is it not wonderful? No, I'm not just talking for logic's sake. This is the reality of life. This is exactly the statement I think he is making in the Blue Book. Anyway, they're going to get there. At least if you provide them an opportunity in the right kind of situation, and I am also here, let them get there soon. There's a very beautiful… I could not enjoy the Tamil poetry, but I heard it and I read something in English about it. This sage, Sundaramurti, was a Balayogi. And this girl also, they're saying Tilakavati, but I think it's some other name, I'm not sure. Huh? Whatever. This girl is also a born devotee. When she was just 6 years of age, she went to Kashi and she spent up to 15 or 16 and then she came back. So because she saw Sundaramurti Nayanar was such a sage and the parents and society insisting that he must marry, and when he saw the girl, who she is, he said yes. So, because they're of a certain stature, I think he was some kind of a minor king's son, so they organized a big wedding. 3,000 guests came. Sundaramurti Nayanar took her as his wife and then went off into… he was a great poet and he went off into a recital and got everybody's attention to him. He just wanted that total attention from everybody. So he just poured forth with beautiful poetry and everybody, very devout poetry, and their whole attention came to him. And he used that moment to dissolve all of them. So 3,002 dead bodies in the marriage hall. No poison, is it? You think it was poisoned? This was before they had their lunch. No Kool-Aid. Okay, no Kool-Aid. Just like that, he just got them in a moment. Many hundreds of years later, this poet, whatever, Shekalar or whoever came, and he laments beautifully in his poetry, if only if they had invited me as a guest to that wedding, I didn't have to struggle with my spirituality like this. Oh, will there be another wedding like that for me? So, he doesn't consider 3,002 people dying in a wedding hall as a tragedy. He sees it, what a great fortune for everybody, they all attained. Because the Sundaramurti was there, all of them attained in one shot. I missed the invitation, I came a few hundred years late, if only I was there. Because a spiritual person is not looking at events as good and bad. You're only concerned about how intensely life is happening with you. Good and bad is a social phenomena, it is not a life phenomena. What is good and what is bad is a social phenomena, it has nothing to do with life. So as far as life is concerned, life is happening to you in great measure. Because once you are touched with something, now you're not limited to your prarabdha. We want to handle the 100 lifetimes quota right now. We have lost our patience. Usually people think spiritual people are very patient. No, they're not patient, they're in damn hurry. They're not patient people, they're in a big hurry. So they want to handle 100 lifetimes in one lifetime. So naturally their life will happen with great intensity. If only, if they just maintain this equanimity, they will see every event that happens in their life will always place them in a higher and higher position within themselves. If they don't see this, if they get influenced by social situations around them, then because of the pace at which life is happening, it could just totally ground them up. So, This is the reason why once a person enters spiritual path, they told you, you should not get into social events, you should not talk to people as they talk. Do you know these restrictions are there for a person who enters spiritual path? Don't get into their kinds of talks, their kind of gossip, their kind of opinions. Because once you get into that, then you think something is going wrong with my life. Life is happening. For him it is not happening. For you it's happening. But if you listen to their opinions and get influenced by it, then you think something is going wrong with my life. No. It's see, it's not that I enjoy using negative words, but I use negative words very consciously and with a purpose. The purpose of using negative terminology is so that you don't misinterpret it. Positive terminology can always be misinterpreted in a million different ways. Negative terminology, there is not much scope for misinterpretation because your mind avoids it. If it's positive terminology, your mind dwells upon it and constantly interprets in a million different ways. So let me use negative terminology for you. It's okay? The moment you say, I want to be spiritual, in a very deep sense, you are saying, I want to end myself. You understand? The moment you say, I want to turn spiritual, what are you saying? Positive way of looking at it is, you're seeking liberation. You're seeking your ultimate nature. You're seeking God, you want to become unbounded. Another way, the other side of the coin is, you want to end yourself, you want to cease to exist. Yes? When you say, I want to be boundless, you want to cease existing the way you are right now, isn't it? And once you express that wish and the necessary energy is invested in you, everything to end you is happening. Oh, so all negative things will happen to me? That's not how it is. It is just that life moves at a tremendous pace. And when you see your life is moving at a much faster pace than your neighbor's life, you think some tragedy is happening to you. No, no tragedy is happening to you. It is just that your life is rolling on fast forward, they are going at normal speed. What's grace? Shall we finish that? That's not over. What's grace? So in all this is fine, what's grace then? As there are various types of energies functioning in the existence, or let us say, as there's energy functioning in various manifestations. See, right now, electricity we created, it is functioning as sunlight, it is functioning as breeze, it is functioning as gravity. Similarly, it is also functioning as grace. Gravity is trying to pull you down, the breeze is trying to blow you off, sun is trying to burn you up. All negative terminology. It's all carefully crafted that way. So grace is telling you, grace is trying to pluck you off from the planet. That's going by negative terminology. Can you use positive terminology for the same thing, everything that I said? Earth is trying to hug you, breeze is trying to cool you, sun is trying to warm you, grace is trying to make you grow. So let's go by the negative terminology, because you will not get attached to it. So the grace is trying to pluck you off from the limitations in which you're stuck right now. The limitations include the planet, the people, the body, the mind, the emotion, everything. So grace is trying to pluck you off. So when you invited grace and it is doing its work, if you try to put an anchor, it is pulling you up, but you drop your anchor, now you create unnecessary struggle. So if struggles are happening because of spiritual process, life is happening, that's fine with me. If struggle is happening, it's simply because you have invited somebody to pull you up, but you drop your anchor. Naturally, struggle will happen.
The other half of the question was, okay, we are born with a prarabdha and we are put on a fast forward by the whole spiritual process or by the guru. But what about God himself, Krishna himself, Shiva himself, you yourself? So aren't you all born with all your prarabdha dissolved? Because my question was, not only is the devotee put through a certain process which could be seen as difficulty, it's also the God himself which goes through any number of adversities in their life or in your life too.
I think you started the question by saying, because of a devotee there is God. Yes, yes. So, once you have said, it is because of a devotee there is God. So, why Shiva is going through adversity? Shiva never went through adversity. Listen, I know, there in the scene, I've painted it, okay. But you know, he lost his dear wife and he really went through a period of, what to say, grief, a very intense grief for Sati's death. And then he's again fine and then things happening. That is so with everybody. Even if you lose somebody very dear to you, maybe sometime and then you fall back. So what's the big deal? He's also going through that. Krishna went through any number of situations. Now you're asking me also, okay, your life also so many things happening. Yes, situations are happening, but no suffering is happening. It is not leaving you broken, it is only placing you in a higher state. It has not crippled you in any way, no matter what happens. And why should it happen to a Krishna or a Shiva or to Jesus or right now to me? Why this situation should happen at all? Once you have chosen to function in a certain way in the world, you are subject to the laws of the world. When I say laws, I'm not talking about man-made laws. Once you have chosen to take on a physical body and act out a role in the world, all the laws that control the physical existence, you are also bound by it. This is the reason why Krishna is talking about dharma, Gautama is talking about dhamma. We are always talking about the yogic principle, the fundamental principle, because the principle or the dhamma or the dharma is the guiding factor for that dimension of life. There is no manager sitting up there managing things. It is running by the laws. It is running because it functions to a certain law and a certain system by itself. So once you choose to enter that dimension, the laws of that dimension are for you also, it doesn't matter who you are. So you may be anybody. You may be Krishna, you may be Shiva, you may be Sadguru. Now if you drink poison, you will die. Maybe there is a capacity if something very express need is there, You will take yourself into a different situation to somehow transcend this. You may not die, but still a price is paid. You cannot escape it. If you fall off the terrace, something will break. It doesn't matter who you are, because now you have chosen to enter into this physical space. Now if you want to be in such a condition where you want to fall off the terrace and nothing happens to you, then you must be a disembodied being. Then you fall off from anywhere, nothing happens to you. All those people are rolling all over the place, nothing happens to them because they are not governed by the physical. If you drop the physical, then you're not governed by it anymore. But if you carry the physical, you are governed by the physical laws. Nobody can escape it. It is not even a question of escape, nobody need to escape it. Because if you want to escape it, why carry the physical? If you do not want to be ruled by the laws of the physical, why do you want to carry the physical? Drop the physical and you're not governed by it. If you don't want to be pushed around by people around you, you drop dead. Nobody can push you around. Isn't it so? Once you are in the physical, you are subject to the laws of the physical. The same goes to other dimensions also. Now when you have seen sufficient of this life, physical and otherwise, that is when the longing for mukti arises. If you are in the physical world, the physical fools are pushing you around. If you are in the disembodied world, the disembodied fools are pushing you around. If you are in yes, even there. If you are in a celestial world, the celestial idiots are pushing you around. It'll always be there. So seeing all this, a wise man asks for mukti. You want to be in a place where nothing pushes you around. If nothing has to push you around, you must become nothing. Negative terminology. Or if nothing should push you around, you must become everything. That's better. You must become everything, boundless, then nothing pushes you around. Even if you have tasted boundlessness within you, even now if it is constantly available to you, once you have chosen to be in this body, you are governed by the physical. This is the reason most enlightened beings don't stay, because they're smart. They don't see any sense in… once they have the key to go beyond, they don't see any sense hanging on and being pushed around by all the physical things. It is like, let's say you are the Prime Minister of the country. Now you came to the local village here, the panchayat head pushes you around. Then, that man will think, what the hell? I was the Prime Minister of the country, I could have whipped this bugger. But now, this man pushes me around. This is the experience of all enlightened beings. He has the key to go beyond, he can be elsewhere. But once he has taken the physical pushes him around and everybody pushes him around in a million different ways. Krishna, in many times, he expresses that how if one is living with the divine, one is living as the divine, he need not be subject to these things. But you are subject to these things, I am subject to these things because I want to establish dharma in this dimension. If I don't take up such projects of establishing dharma in this dimension, I don't have to go through all this, he knows that very well. Everybody makes fun of him, everybody calls him a bloody cowherd. Repeatedly, right through his time, all the proud kings, some of them worshipped him, but many of them continue to refer to him as a cowherd in a derogatory way, not as Gopala, Gopala. Not with love, they call him in Gopala. in a very derogatory way, they're saying he is a cowherd. So he takes all that, he need not, but he takes all that, but because he has taken up something to do with the physical.